Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, does this relationship have any future? Well, I've got an interesting email here. It ties into this particular email. Is actually from a guy. He's been following me 3 years. He's read 3% Man 17 times, and several months back, we had a phone session together. And so he's got an issue going on where, like, his girlfriend gave him the password to her phone so he can look at it whenever. And well, he just happened to go in it, and there's her sending a selfie of herself in a bikini to two different dudes. Obviously, he wasn't happy to see this, and so he had a conversation with her, and she is either incredibly naive or she's gaslighting him. And what's interesting is I had a client I was talking to last night, and this was the third phone session that I'd done over the past year with this particular guy, and he was having similar behavior from his girlfriend. And she was basically, even though they're in a year-long relationship, and things the last several months have been better than ever, between the emailer guy, but the other dude, it's like things are going well in their relationship, but the one thing he's constantly catching her in is that there's like always another dude. It's either an ex or she's out with her child somewhere, and then she runs into another guy who's a father of a child, and the kids start talking. Then she's exchanging phone numbers with this guy, or it may be a neighbor comes by who supposedly lives with his girlfriend or his wife. Phone numbers get exchanged. The guy's wife doesn't know that he's talking to this dude's girlfriend. And so the same thing that we talk about in every phone session, he sets the healthy boundary, and then she goes and violates it because there's always another male orbiter that seems to come out of the woodwork. So it's obvious from her behavior that she's continually inviting this particular attention and doing things that communicate that she doesn't respect the sanctity of their relationship. The number one most important thing to men in a relationship is loyalty. You want to know that the girl you're with, if you're exclusive with her, that she's got your back and she's going to be loyal and faithful. She's not going to be sending partially naked selfies of herself after you've been in a relationship for a couple of years to other guys that she just randomly met, and the guys are drooling over the selfies. It's inappropriate behavior. And so initially, like with this particular client, earlier in the beginning of the year, when we talked about what his girlfriend was doing, it's the same behavior. Giving out selfies, giving out her number, inviting attention from other men. Basically, giving these guys the idea, potentially, that she's available. So they stay engaged, they keep pursuing her, they keep reaching out, and obviously she likes this. And so her boyfriend confronts her about it after we have our phone session. She promises to stop. She's like, I was shocked that this would be seemed as inappropriate. I had this conversation also with Jade about a month and a half ago, one of the girls that I do the podcast with. And I know her boyfriend. We hang out. We double date at times, and we know each other. And so I've known her for many years, and a few months ago, she was out with a couple guys that she used to work with. And one of these particular guys has always been interested in her, and she always knows this, but she's like, nothing's going to happen. And her boyfriend wasn't happy about her hanging out with a single guy that's hoping to get with her. It's just inappropriate because a lady who's loyal, is not going to do those kinds of things. She's not going to do anything potentially that could insinuate that anything inappropriate is going on. And then the other flip side is, us guys, we know how other men are. And if you're in a relationship and your girl's hanging out with other single men, they're going to probably try to make a move on her and seduce her at some point. And then what do women typically say when those things do happen? It just kind of happened. And so that's why it's inappropriate. And what I explained to her is like, you can't be doing that. If you're going to hang out with dudes that you're friends with but who are stuck in friend zone, then your boyfriend should be there, or some other girlfriends should be there, just because that's not going to typically stop the average guy from still trying to get with you, even though he knows you're in a relationship. And plus, on top of that, you want your boyfriend to know that you're loyal to him. And that's the appropriate, if you're going to be exclusive and monogamous and want a guy to be committed to you, these are just the bare minimum level of interactions. And so back to my client I was doing a phone session with last night. He'd set the boundary, give it a few weeks, and then every single time there'd be one or two other dudes, and either new guys she met or guys from the past coming out of the woodwork. And each time she's just like, oh, gee, this is kind of trying to make him feel like, oh, you're being unreasonable. And so it's just not clicking. So he sets the healthy boundary. She violates it, resets it again, because each situation is slightly different. And we had another phone session last night, third one in the past year. Same thing. She's continually violating the boundaries. So it's obvious, and obviously it's very upsetting to my client. He doesn't like this because he wants loyalty, and she's still behaving like she's single. And then she just kind of acts, oh, well, this is kind of unreasonable that you'd be upset. Well, we just talked about this a few months ago. You said you wouldn't do it again, and here you are doing it again with another guy. Oh, yeah, but this is different. So it's clear that there's a value system conflict there. And so for this particular guy, he had dumped his girlfriend, and he wanted, about a month or so ago, and wanted confirmation that he did the right thing. It's like the behavior didn't change. And he was upset about it several months ago when I talked to him the last time. He thought, things got better between the two of them. At least he thought. And then once again, there's other dudes coming out of the woodwork. And at some point, no one will ever do or say anything to you that you don't invite them to do. And so if you set a healthy boundary and they violate it, and then they violate it again and again, well, if you keep putting up with it, you're actually enabling their behavior. You're telling them there's no consequences, or teaching them there's no consequences. And the only thing that's going to change a woman's behavior like this is her continually getting dumped by guys that, when that happens, but most guys make excuses for it because their thirst is so bad. And they keep putting up with it. Even my client I was talking to last night, he wanted it to be other than it was. He's got a lot, he's been with her a couple years. He's tired, he's tired of putting in the effort and then it not getting reciprocated the way he wants. But when you got a lot of years invested in it, it's easy for us listening to it, reading an email or talking about it because we're not in the situation. Just say, oh yeah, dump her. But you want to set the healthy boundary, and then you got to see if she respects it. Because if she loves you and she respects you, she'll keep the boundary. She'll submit and not do anything to further display this behavior. But when a woman continues to display it, despite what she says, because she says the right things, but her actions are the opposite. So her actions show that she's not going to comply and has no intention of complying. Because every time he confronts her about it, she acts like she's being unreasonable, even though they've talked about it continuously. So that you got to set the healthy boundary, but you have to enforce it. And enforcing it may mean that you got to break it off, even if you got lots of time involved. If loyalty is important to you, which it is to most men, and your girl's completely doing things that make her look like she's disloyal, you're either going to put up with it and it's going to continue to happen, or you're going to leave her and find somebody that will respect the healthy boundary. So with that in mind, we've got this guy here that this thing's happened, and obviously he's not happy about it. So it's a similar situation where a woman's integrity and her ability to be loyal is now called into question. This is part of the vetting process. If you're looking for marriage, if you're looking for exclusivity, if you're looking for somebody to have kids with or whatever, you want to know that the kids are yours and that she's going to be loyal and she's not going to continually exhibit this kind of behavior. So this particular guy is where the other client was earlier in the year, the first time these things have happened when they were dating. So he says, hello, Corey. I've been following you for 3 years. I've read your book 17 times and had a coaching call with you a couple of months ago. At the time, you said it sounds like I made a few small mistakes, but that overall I was handling things appropriately. He says, so I've been dating this beautiful woman. She's a total 10, and I can tell because guys turn their heads when we walk in anywhere we go. I'm a good-looking guy that works out, and I'm a real estate investor. Anyway, into the immediate problem. I'm bonding with her son and her. I'm helping her with her son's failing relationship, and it's going better. So he's being a great guy. He's being a great leader. He's bringing the masculinity to the relationship. Her son's responding positively. She's responding positively, or at least she appears to be. He says, we meet up a lot now that we've been dating for almost a year. She has her mom, sister, and brother coming down for Christmas, and she plans on doing family things all together, so I know she's showing signs of attraction. And regarding that, the other client that I was talking about, there's other things that the girlfriend's continually doing, which is communicating he's not really that much of a priority to her. And things like this, she leaves him out of things that are really intimate and close. And so you got to pay attention to what a woman does, not what she says. He says, she always calls me in the morning, and we have lots and lots of sex. So we are decorating for Christmas with her son, which is not normal. He is usually in his room on his video games. So he's putting in the effort, I'm putting in the effort, and so is she. Everything was great that night. So the next morning, I couldn't find my phone. And she had given me her password before, and I know what you're thinking at this point and where this is going. So he couldn't find his phone. Maybe he's going to call it or whatever. He knows how to get into it. And he says, yes, typically I'm not going through phones or care to. Yeah, you want to trust that your girl is loyal, but you're in there, your intuition is gone. Well, let's just look through her text messages. He says, so this time I did. I saw some texts. I scroll down and I see some guys. So she sent selfies to 2 guys. One right when we were on vacation the week before. It's like things are going better. Another, you're on vacation and she's on her phone. Maybe you notice it, maybe you don't. Maybe you're in the bathroom. She's sending a selfie to another dude. He says one of them responded by just liking the photo. And he says it was a photo when we were on the beach and she had her bikini top on. It didn't have her boobs all in it, and it was the top part, but you could tell she was in a bikini top. And then she sent another to another guy, and he said, sexy. Then he said, let's FaceTime. And she responded that she was working. So that kind of response sounds like she's used to interacting with this guy. And so if she's sending him a selfie in her bikini when she's on vacation with their boyfriend, she's inviting attention from the romantic attention from that other guy. That is totally disloyal behavior, and no guy is going to be cool with that. That's just not appropriate. He says, so I immediately brought this up to her when she walked out of the room that morning. And she was thrown off a little bit, of course. And so a little back history is that she's also from California, has lived there forever, except the last 2 years she lived in Texas. He says, no, she didn't move here for me. We just happened to meet when she was here. So I had the conversation of what is going on. I said, if you want to do that, then we can't date. Because, again, she's inviting romantic attention from 2 other men. Sending selfies of her in a bikini. Come on. He says, I also stated that in any serious relationship that she's in, whether it's with me or anyone else, this is unacceptable. She didn't see it as an issue at first, laughing my ass off. He said, anyway, I said, this is common sense. So he says, here's some more history. He says, her longest relationship's been 3 years, and so she probably thinks this is just normal. I told her that if she is married and the man or woman sends selfies to anyone and they respond sexy, let's FaceTime, is that okay? And she said no. It's like she knows better, but she's doing it anyway. Maybe she's sloppy. This is what happens when a woman's comfortable. When she's happy and she's comfortable and she feels like you trust her, that's when she does things like this, and you just happen to go on her phone and whoop, look at that. Looky there. Shows that she's not trustworthy. He says, so as a defense mechanism, she brings up this one chick who messaged me 3 times on Instagram, and I never responded to her. He says, anyway, she believes in her head that I was talking to her. He says, I was not. So she's questioning his loyalty. Why would she question his loyalty? Because she's behaving disloyal, and she's gotten busted on it. So now she's trying to deflect and say, oh, you did the same thing. One way messages with a girl sliding into your DMs is not you flirting with another woman. But she's trying to twist it to absolve herself from any blame. And this is why you have to hold women accountable when they bring these things up. And you got to make it crystal clear why the behavior is inappropriate. And just like the conversation I had with Jade. And since then, Jade's respected it. Now she understands it, but she never really thought of things that way or how it would look, because in her mind, she's like, she's never going to do anything inappropriate. But her boyfriend knows, and I know, and you guys know, that guys are guys. And if the guy has his eye on a prize and she's spending time with him, he's going to on some level think that he's got a shot. And women who respect their boyfriends and their relationship and themselves are just going to not put themselves in a situation where something inappropriate could happen. Because she could be in the restaurant with just him, and it just so happens this all came about where she was hanging out with this guy. And so one of his friends happened to see her, and he's like, hey, your girlfriend's hanging out at a restaurant with these dudes. Just her and a couple guys, or one guy, I can't remember what it was. And so he hears this, and he's like, it doesn't look good. You don't want, not only does it look bad for your girl, but it looks bad for you, because now your friend is noticing that your girlfriend is hanging out with a guy one-on-one, or her and two dudes that are not the boyfriend. It just looks bad. And then, like I said, at least with Jade, she's like, yeah, it makes sense. And she went and she apologized to her boyfriend. And she hasn't done it since, because now she understands. That's what a good woman's going to do. A ratchet is going to go, And then, like my client that I had last night, it's like she just continued doing it. And then each time he caught her and called her out on it, she's just like, this is such an inconvenience, and I just can't believe you're getting upset about this. Because in other words, she just wanted to continue doing the same thing. And on top of that, she just disrespects him to other people and just kind of communicates that he's really not a priority to her. And that's why he dumped her, and rightly so. These hoes ain't loyal. He says, when I'm in a committed relationship, I am only with that woman. She said she wouldn't do this anymore if I didn't like it. I said, okay, but that is not enough. She needs to not do it because she thinks this is not something to do in a relationship. And she responded with common sense isn't always that common. Basically, she did not know this is not normal, though she would change. Does this relationship have any future? Well, like I said, a good woman, just like talking about Jade, is going to go, ooh, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings like that. Obviously not everybody works with somebody like me, but I made it crystal clear to her, because I know her boyfriend as well. It's like, you can't do this. This is not cool. And you need to not ever do that again. And you need to convince your boyfriend that you understand, and you'll never put yourself in a position like that again if you want him to see you as potentially the future mother of his children. Because you keep doing things like that, things like this. And so in this case, we will give her the benefit of the doubt, because you got a whole year in. Because at the end of the day, just like my client last night, she's going to slip up again. If she doesn't care, if she don't respect you, if she doesn't have the values of loyalty, she'll do it again, and you will catch her again. And then if you tolerate it, then she's gotten away with it twice. So why would she assume she couldn't get away with it a third time? So that's why it's so important, because so many guys put up with this crappy behavior, then the girl can easily find somebody else, and then that guy will put up the same disloyal behavior because they're so thirsty. And so what it takes is men in their masculine not tolerating disloyal behavior. I remember a few months ago, there was a post on Twitter that I saw, and there was this woman that was really upset. She'd been with her boyfriend of several years. They'd been talking about getting married, and she was hanging out one time, and she said, what do you think about an open relationship? And, exploring that and hooking up with other people. And he just got up from her house and walked out and blocked her on all social media and dumped her. And he walked away, and he never looked back. And she was crying and upset and really, sad. And it's like, dude didn't come back. And that's the kind of thing that will cause her to change. Because if a woman wants to keep a good, loyal dude around, and then she gets dumped like that by being disloyal, just for bringing it up, which you got to respect the guy for just, he's like, I don't think so. Because if you're in a long-term relationship and you're talking about marriage, and all of a sudden you ask about exploring an open relationship, that's communicating to you, you're not really that important to her, and she's not really that down for being loyal to you. So that guy, he wants a wife, he wants somebody to be exclusive with, have children with. It's like the conversation's over at that point for that dude. For him, it's like that was the most disloyal thing, because in other words, she's communicating you're not really a priority. I don't see the same, despite the fact she wants to talk about marriage. In the same token, she's like, how about sleeping with other people? And he's like, that's not what I signed up for. And he dipped. And good on him for doing that, because he had standards, and he's holding himself accountable and holding her accountable. And when that happens enough, then those things won't happen as much, because men just won't put up or tolerate women to behave this way, and the reputation will get around town. People will know that she belongs to the streets. And so the client I talked to last night, we know his girl belongs to the streets, because it's over a dozen times this has happened. It's the same issue, and every time she's just acts surprised and can't believe that he's upset at her, but she continually behaves like she's single. And that's what he told her. He's like, you act like you're single still. So then, just like this guy said to his girlfriend, it's like, if you're going to behave this way, we can't date. I'm not looking for this. He wants loyalty is what he's telling her. So he set the boundary, and now we just have to wait to see if she keeps it. If she loves him and she respects him and what they have, she will keep the boundary and she will respect it, and she'll never do anything like this ever again. But if she does it again, then the only thing you can do is dip, because if you stick around, you're enabling her behavior. You're teaching her it's okay to do it. And that's what most guys are doing, because there's so many weak guys in society that have been feminized and they're girly, and they put up with this kind of ratchet behavior from women. And so the women get validated, and that's why they continue doing it, because nobody holds them accountable. No one will ever do or say anything to you that you don't invite them to do. So if you got a question or a challenge, maybe you're in a similar situation like this, because when you love the person and you're in a relationship, and something like this happens, because your emotions are involved, and we make our decisions based on our emotions, you're going to probably try to find a reason to keep excusing this behavior, just like my client. And I just said, dude, this is the third phone session we've had. It's the same issue. The whole past year we've been discussing this and having the same issue. It's not getting better. And the fact that he had dumped her is a credit to him, because he was like, that's it. You continually violated my standards. And so the only thing he was questioning is he wanted to run through it with me. He's like, am I crazy? He's like, or am I being unreasonable? And because she's been gaslighting him. And that's what gaslighting does. It causes you to question yourself. Well, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm being unreasonable. And that's what a narcissist does, because they gaslight you, and they get you to question your own ability to interpret reality. And therefore, that's how they continue manipulating you and bamboozling you, because they just tell you things, and eventually you start to believe their judgment over your own. And that's definitely not healthy. That's when you open yourself up to significant abuse and really huge downside risks. So if you've got a situation like this you're in, and you want to run it by me, I do a lot of phone sessions with, especially when it deals with breakups or potential breakups or divorces, because you got to know whether or not the person you're with is going to be loyal to you. Go to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.